I am counting down the days until September 13th because we have got some big fun coming, and tickets for this big fun are going fast. We're having a parenting conference in Nashville, our first ever parenting conference that we're getting to put on that's called Raising Capable Kids. Y'all, we have the most amazing people who are going to be on the stage with us. We have Nero Feliciano, we have Megan Mickelson of Birds and Bees, we have Joey Odom of RO, we have Melissa Trevathan, our dear friend and the founding director of Daystar, we have Dr. Chinwe Williams, so many wise, trusted voices of ours. So much goodness, so much fun. Make plans now. Get your tickets quickly and come to Nashville on September 13th for Raising Capable Kids.
Welcome to the Raising Boys and Girls podcast.
I'm Sissy Goff.
And I'm David Thomas, and we're so glad you've joined us for this conversation. Let's dive in. In a career that has spanned more than 3 decades, Stephen Curtis Chapman is the most awarded artist in Christian music history. With 60 GMA Dove Awards, 5 Grammy Awards, an American Music Award, and a historic 50 number 1 singles, he has sold more than 17 million albums, with 10 certified gold or platinum albums to his credit. In 2017, Chapman also became a best-selling author with his memoir, Between Heaven and the Real World, My Story. In November 2024, Chapman was inducted as a member of the Grand Ole Opry, the first Christian artist in history to hold that honor. He is also the recent recipient of the BMI Icon Award given to him in June 2022. Chapman is the first Christian music songwriter to receive the honor, joining an elite list that includes Dolly Pardon, Sting, Paul Simon, Carole King, and Stevie Nicks. Mary Beth Chapman is the co-founder and chairman of the board of Show Hope, an internationally recognized nonprofit in adoption, advocacy, and support. She is also a speaker and a New York Times best-selling author. Touched and forever transformed by the miracle of adoption in their own family, Mary Beth and Stephen founded Show Hope in 2003 with its mission to care for orphans by engaging the church and reducing the barriers to adoption. To date, Show Hope has helped more than 9,300 children from more than 60 countries, including the U.S., come home to the love, security, and permanency of a family through its Cornerstone Adoption Aid Grants program. For nearly 15 years, Show Hope has also supported multiple care centers in China with an aim to provide care for children with acute medical and special needs, even building, furnishing, and supporting the flagship care center, Maria's Big House of Hope, named in honor of their daughter, Maria, who is now with Jesus. In 2020, building upon its care center's legacy, Show Hope launched its medical care grants program to financially assist families with medical expenses for their children welcomed home through adoption. To date, more than 200 children and families have been impacted by a medical care grant. Furthermore, Show Hope has helped train and equip more than 155,000 parents, caregivers, church leaders, and professionals in their journeys to care for and serve well the children entrusted to them. And finally, with a focus on the future, Show Hope has engaged and mobilized more than 23,500 students in adoption, advocacy, and support work. College sweethearts who married in 1984, Mary Beth and Stephen have 6 children. Their most treasured title is being called Grammy and Pop Pops to their 7 beautiful grandbabies whom they love spoiling. Enjoy our conversation with the delightful Mary Beth and Stephen Curtis Chapman. You two, you don't know how long we have dreamed about having the two of you.
Yes.
You do
So
not know
sweet.
how happy we are. I'm going to do my best to not cry until we get at least halfway through the interview, but it makes me so happy to be in your company. And I'm so grateful you all would say yes to this.
Oh,
Me too.
we were very excited to be here.
You-
Come talk to you all.
You
Yes,
really don't
thank
even
you.
need an introduction because
No.
you are
Yeah.
beloved by so many people. But we'd love to start by just having you all tell us the story of how you met and a
Okay.
little about your family. We're going to begin there, and then we're going to move to music and other things.
We have the he said, she said. No,
Oh, good.
it's usually the same story.
It is.
Mostly,
It is.
but I tell it a lot. So, do you want to tell it in your?
Yeah. Stephen and I met at a small school in Anderson, Indiana, Anderson College. It's now Anderson University. He's from Kentucky.
Yep.
I hail from the state of Ohio. And so I was an incoming freshman. Stephen was a junior. And we met, I guess, in happenstance. We met on the sidewalk. You asked a friend of mine.
I first saw you. First time I laid eyes on Mary Beth, her first time she saw me, I believe, was I was playing music for the orientation for the incoming freshmen. I'd been there a couple of years at Anderson and was in the music department. I was writing and already things had kind of started up a little bit for me. And she came as a freshman, and my brother and I and one other guy had a little group in college called Chapman Henderson. And I had cowboy boots on. I had been working at Opryland the summer before. So I had my cowboy boots, had my mullet, I can play
green
you
guitar
videos and you would not even believe it was me if you didn't see my face because I was so Kentucky. I mean, it was like, hey, everybody, it's good to be here tonight. It's crazy. Years of, being married to a Midwesterner who has been working on my dialect over the years. But and she made fun of me is what she tells me.
I'm sorry.
With her friend at the Hillbilly on stage singing, even though then she also says usually, that she thought I was maybe a little cute. But other than that, I was just a hillbilly.
Uh-oh.
But I met, so I saw her walking out of the cafeteria. I was walking in with a buddy who had just met her the night before. A guy named Greg Croker, who's a friend of ours. He and his wife live here, actually, and we've stayed in touch with them. And hey, Patches, you're just licking on the ear.
I love it.
And I saw her, and he said hi to her, and I remember thinking, "Wow, who is that?" And because I've never seen her before, and she's very lovely. And he said, "Her name is Mary Beth. I met her last night," and he was the first one I remember saying, her last name is Chapman, actually, I think. You guys could be related. And it was like the same day or a day later, I went to my mailbox at Anderson College, and they assigned 2 students to a mailbox. And I had always, up to that point, shared the mailbox with my brother, because my brother was in school as well, Herb Chapman. So Herb and Steve Chapman, we played music together and did everything together. But suddenly, my brother was not my mailbox partner. It was some stranger named Mary Beth Chapman.
Oh, my God.
And when I read, because I pulled out the mail and there was, he looked at it and was like, Mary Beth Chapman. Wait a minute, that's the girl I met. And so
Goodness.
that is sort of what led to us meeting each other. I saw her in the cafeteria next day or two later. And I remember I sat down and said, "Hey, you're Mary Beth Chapman. I'm Steve Chapman. We share a mailbox together." And just kind of introduced myself. And I was definitely, digging her vibe, we'd say, as the kids say, in case we have kids. I was digging her vibe.
I don't know if kids say that anymore, babe.
Yeah, probably not. And thought she was quite fetching. And she had a denim jacket and denim skirt when the first time I saw her, and I thought, that's kind of rock and roll. That's kind of cool, like biker, girl. But she had little buttons all over it, which were Precious Moments, little pins that she used to wear on her denim jacket, with little sayings, kind of, please be patient, God isn't finished with me yet. And things like honk if you love Jesus. And it was a little girl standing nose to nose to a goose. These little cute, remember the Precious Moments?
Totally.
Figurines?
Totally.
So she had those on her. So I'm like, this is kind of cool. She's kind of got a cool sort of rock and roll vibe, but with Precious Moments kind of flair. That's kind of cool. And anyway, I met her there in the cafeteria and talked to her, and I think had lunch with you or whatever. And I was like, I want to know more about this Mary Beth Chapman person. So kept pursuing her around campus, and she didn't run too fast. She ran comfortably enough for me to catch up with her most times.
It went pretty fast, though.
Yeah,
we met in
did.
September. We were engaged by March and married by the next October.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
you chased. You chased.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You knew you wanted to be looking at that name on the mail for the...
Yeah, I did.
The
I told
long
her.
That's
haul.
how he asked me
That's
to
how
marry
I
him.
usually say,
Oh,
I
really?
say, would you share a mailbox with me forever?
Oh.
And she said yes. So, and then as I always say in concert, I tell people, and then So on October 13th, 1984, 40 years ago, she became married Beth Chapman. And people, always tell people, which sounds funny and strange, but when you are from Kentucky, it's not unusual at all. So, it's just kind of how we roll. That's just kind of how we do it. Keep it in the family.
That's good.
Which does explain our children. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes. Yeah. It makes a lot of sense now.
Me.
Well, let's go back to music for just a second.
Okay.
Because I'm curious, Stephen, you were already at Opryland doing music in the summers.
Yes.
When did you know you wanted music to be your life's work, or when did you feel called that direction?
I probably wanted it, as early as I can remember, because that's all I did. It's all I loved and cared about, was music.
Oh,
My
really?
dad's a musician.
Wow.
Still 86 years old. I talked to him yesterday. He was teaching a guitar student. Still, he's got his little music store, Chapman Music.
Incredible.
He's had it for 60 years there.
amazing.
Talk about a counselor.
Yeah.
Thousands of
Yeah.
students.
Wow.
He's led people to the Lord, and he's
Oh.
counseled people, and just, he's just, he would say, barely finished high school and loved to playing a guitar, worked at the railroad till he hurt his back, and chased a dream of music for a little while before I was born. And then in my earliest years, I remember him writing songs with his buddies and recording them and coming to Nashville and dreaming of the Grand Ole Opry. That was his dream, to someday be on the Grand Ole Opry. We would listen to it, when you could pick it up on the radio in Kentucky, a couple hours away. But if the weather was just right, the signal would make it all the way to Paducah, and we'd listen. And so that was my dad's dream. And so music was a big part of my early life, and really music and faith for me were woven together very early on too. First song I learned on a guitar, I joke, was Folsom Prison Blues, which it was.
Wow.
So at 6 years old, I'm playing prison songs.
Wow.
But when I was 7, my parents really had a just began their relationship with the Lord, and it really made an impact. My dad had grown up without a father and had alcoholic dad who left when he was a baby and never made it back home. My dad met him a couple of times very briefly, and it was just a lot of shame and a lot of embarrassment and all of that. And his mom never remarried, so Dad grew up without a father in his life, and so when the Lord really began to change his heart and my whole family's heart, when I was about 7, through a revival that came to our little church there,
wow.
Olivet Baptist Church in Paducah, my dad really just eventually, within a shorter period of time, laid the dream of music down, because he really knew it was going to take him away from his family. He'd already been told, if you want to do this, people that were kind of pursuing him or he was working with in the music business were saying, if you really want to do this, we're going to, you're just going to take everything. You got to get on the road and just go for months, years at a time. And so he really just said, I don't want to do that. So he was home, with us. So we began to sing together as a family. So music was kind of our connection, and faith. So we would sing, in church, and we'd sing hymns, and my dad became minister of music in our little church. And so that music was just, a part of our life. And then music and faith were so woven together. And so I started writing songs in high school, and my first song was a Christian. It was a gospel song, Christian, song. As a teenager kid, I'd read the parable of the talents in probably, something, youth group or something. I heard this story, and it resonated with me, because people would say, you've got talent. God's given you talent. You need to use it for him. And I remember thinking, when the master returns, we know that parable, one takes the 3 and makes 3 doubles, whatever has been entrusted to him. And then the one, hides it and kind of buries it and afraid. And the master says, well done, good and faithful servant, to the one who stewarded well what he was given. And I was always, even at that point, struck by that. I want to use what God's given me in a way that honors him. And so that was the first song I wrote. When Christ Comes, I want to hear him say, well done. The song was called Well Done. And so it was a very natural thing. I played music my whole life, started writing songs, but never really, honestly, I think because of my dad's journey, he had tried it and saw all the kind of negative parts of it. He came to Nashville and was just said, son, it's so hard to feed your family. I remember his words, or it's hard to feed a family playing a guitar. I've done it for a lot of years, and somehow by God's grace, I put food on the table and we've done well, but it's a lot. It's hard. And you can go to college and get a real job. You should go get a real job. His older brother, my Uncle Barry, had the real job, went and got a job at a company and kind of did well. And my dad always thought, yeah, you should go do that. And so I went to college and enrolled in pre-med because that was as real of a job as I could get. No, laugh away because it was laughable. I was like, why did I do that? Well, it's because I had two uncles who were medical world. And my dad's like, you're smart. They're smart. You could do that. I guess that's about all it was. And it was the same time I had met someone the summer before my freshman year while I was working at Opryland who would ultimately be my connection to Anderson College and to meeting Mary Beth. And also, it was this guy, he just came to one of the Opryland shows on a vacation with his family. He was a college kid who heard me and my brother in the show at Opryland, came up afterwards. We start talking. Faith comes up, gospel music, Christian music. I'm a songwriter, wannabe songwriter. And he's like, oh man, I know people who are in gospel music. You should send me some of your songs. Play me something. I played him a song. He said, record that and send it to me. And so I put it on a little cassette tape and I sent it to Danny Daniels, a college student in Anderson College in Indiana, who happened to be really, really good friends with a guy named Bill Gaither. He gave my cassette tape to Bill Gaither. Wow. Bill is the guy who wrote the songs in Gloria that I grew up singing with my family in church every Sunday. He touched me and all these great songs. And so while I'm failing miserably in college chemistry, I get a phone call from Bill Gaither saying, hey, I think you've got a gift and I'd like to encourage you. So I called my dad and I said, Dad, if I get a phone call from Bill Gaither, does that change anything for what you think about the future? And he says, yep, that changes everything. I think that's a great idea. Go meet Bill Gaither.
Wow.
And so that's how I ended up at Anderson College, which is where I would meet my lovely, lovely bride. I love Oswald Chambers, and Utmost for His Highest says, what we call the process, God calls the end. We see it as, I'm waiting for that, that big moment. And so often it's the journey and the process. And God's a whole lot more, interested in that. And us, and Mary Beth often talks about how there's, the verse in Psalms, even the word is a lamp to my feet, light for my path. It's not a floodlight. It's not a freight train light that shines 20 miles ahead. It's like, it's a lamp. And sometimes it's just the next step. But then we look back or we watch how God directs our steps, as we're just following him, and sometimes missteps and sometimes, all of that. And I think that for me and really for us in the ministry that God's even called us into together, Show Hope and all of it has just been, you look back and go, whoa, okay, God was doing that. We didn't never have that big moment like, hey, here's what, we're going to do for the rest of our lives. It's just been trying to be obedient in the steps in front of us.
Do you have a favorite of his songs? And would you tell us why?
Of course she does.
Of course.
No, they're all her favorites.
I have a lot of favorites. And I feel like that's a loaded question because I always feel like I'm supposed to answer, well, of course.
You don't have to say I will be here.
And I love that song. And that song was actually written out of, early on when Stephen gifted me the song I Will Be Here, which has been sung at so many weddings. And we have so many beautiful stories of people writing that to us that they have used it at their wedding. That song was written out of a lot of pain. And actually, he gave me that song as a gift, as a Mother's Day gift, shortly after his mom and dad divorced. And so it was a super painful time because it kind of pulled the rug out from under us a little bit. Like, this is another amazing thing about the Chapmans. I won't disclose our age, but we're getting up there, people. And
doesn't take a lot of
four
math
of our
to figure
parents
it
are living.
Yes.
And they're all four
Y'all,
living
that's
independently.
amazing.
Isn't that crazy?
So,
Yeah.
it's
Wow.
crazy.
Yeah.
We call it the Chapman energy. We don't know which Chapman, but
I know.
yeah, it's all this
It's
Chapman
combined.
energy.
It's
But,
like a double whammy.
but really early in our marriage, we were really my mom and dad just celebrated their 70th wedding anniversary.
Wow.
And and so we got to celebrate with them. And I mean, is that crazy? I don't think
Yes.
there's that many people,
Yeah,
they
have
were
to be in a very
I think
small
17 and 18 when
minority.
they got married, and just
Wow.
watching them do their life. And I know there's a lot of buzzwords in the counseling world, but like, I mean, they've been together 70 years. They're so codependent on each other. But I mean that in the most beautiful sense of the word.
Yes.
Because just watching them just kind of grow together and just be our champion, my brother and my sister's champion. But his mom and dad were really, because of the music, because of faith being interwoven in the music, we were really modeling a lot of our young marriage after them. And so when the divorce happened, and I was front row seat to watching, Emily was about 3.5 or 4 at the time. And so I was watching Herbie, Steve's older brother, and him kind of become their parents. And the pain I was watching, they were like became little boys again, but yet they were also trying to parent their parent. It was such a hard thing to love them through, to try to counsel them through. And our minds were blown, and just how we could clearly see how the enemy just started whispering stuff, and obviously it didn't end well. And so that song was written out of okay, this is what we were basing everything on. And I mean, we used to hear his dad say all the time, divorce is not an option, and da-da-da. And so it's a surprise that song being written the way he wrote it became such a huge wedding song. So clearly that's such a special song to me, as it is to a lot of people. But because I've had to share it with a lot of people,
with the whole world. Not necessarily.
there are other ones. He wrote a song for me called "Go There With You," which is a commitment to walk with me through the early years of me discovering that I was really dealing with clinical depression. That was an early theme pretty quickly in our young married life. And just a lot of those songs that he's written with that theme in it, about how he would walk with me and go wherever I needed to go. And that's heavy when you're dealing with some emotional stuff that you're working through. So that one's a really special one as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, sweetheart.
You're welcome, sweetie.
And now we're going to take a little break to hear from one of our sponsors who makes this podcast possible.
Sissy, how in the world are you awake right now after being awake until midnight at camp all summer?
My eyes are open, but I'm not really sure I'm awake. But one of our sponsors is helping me stay awake. I love my morning coffee routine, but I don't like the way it makes me feel. Everyday Dose has the classic coffee taste you love without the nasty side effects, plus added benefits, no crash and no jitters.
Everyday Dose is coffee plus benefits. It combines 100% Arabica coffee with powerful ingredients like lion's mane and chaga, collagen protein, and nootropics to fuel your brain, boost focus, and give you clean, sustained energy all day long.
No crash, no jitters, just clean, sustained energy. 2 products to highlight, Coffee Plus and Coffee Plus Bold. Coffee Plus is a mild roast, light and smooth. Low acidity, which is easy on sensitive stomachs. Mellow energy.
Coffee Plus Bold is a rich blend of medium roast, 100% Arabica coffee, robust and full-bodied yet smooth. Extra boost of energy.
Both are 100% Arabica coffee, have functional benefits, and are mold-free. Everyday Dose does third-party testing.
Get 45% off your subscription order of 30 servings of Coffee Plus or Bold Plus. You'll also receive a starter kit with over $100 in free gifts, including a rechargeable frother and gunmetal serving spoon, by going to everydaydose.com/RBG or entering RBG at checkout. You'll also get free gifts throughout the year.
That's everydaydose.com/RBG for 45% off your first order. And now back to our show. Okay, well, I'm going to have to read this because I can't even keep up with all these things as we stay in the music realm for just a minute.
Okay.
So you are the most awarded artist in Christian music history.
Boy. Okay.
With
Here we go.
That's code for old. Okay, sorry.
60 Dove Awards, 5 Grammy Awards, an American Music Award, and a historic 50 #1 singles. You've sold more than 17 million albums, with 10 gold or platinum albums to your credit. You were also recently inducted into the Grand Ole Opry, which is celebrating its 100-year anniversary this year. You're also the first Christian music artist ever to be inducted. And we haven't even touched on songwriting honors or inductions. That's wild.
Yeah.
I mean, thinking about all of that, Stephen, what is a moment that you felt like, how did I get here?
Yeah.
How is this happening to me?
Every one of them. It really is. Every one of them. I remember saying this when I was writing a book, kind of opened with this story because I remember it so clearly. It was a book a few years ago, kind of my memoirs, I guess, call it, Between Heaven and the Real World. And I just telling my story, and it opens with this story of me playing with a symphony, doing my songs with about a 300-voice choir at Carnegie Hall.
Wow.
And people were saying, of course, as they would, man, this has to be a dream come true. And my honest answer was, you know what? I can't honestly say this is a dream come true because when you're a kid from Paducah, Kentucky, you don't dream this big. Your dreams, honestly, true story. There was a place called the Paducah Civic Center that if anybody came through town that was like, a big deal at all, that's where you saw them, at Paducah Civic Center. My dream of someday maybe playing the Paducah Civic Center, that would be as big as I can imagine. Grand Ole Opry, Carnegie Hall, that's for like real musicians, that's not even the world that I am in at all. And so, Grammy Awards, all of the things, that we have experienced together. The first Grammy Award, I win, they call my name. Last thing, you just don't expect, your name to be called, and they say your name, and it's the pre-telecast awards, to be fair. So, the room's a smattering of people. It's all the stuff that happens before the big show and the big stars show up. But hey, we're there and we're excited, and this is, our moment. And so Mary Beth's there with me, and my name is announced as the winner of the whatever that year it was called, the pop gospel album of the year or something. And Mary Beth is so excited, she jumps up and I think stands on her chair, like just
two of us.
Love that.
It's gonna
like,
ever happen again.
like a golf clap, and then there's Mary Beth just losing her mind.
Do you remember what else we did? We found a blank sheet of paper because that was back so long ago that I don't know if you remember this, but they used to insert pictures of in previously recorded, and
presented earlier tonight.
The award for and they show Stephen. Well, we had to be gone on Emily's birthday.
Yeah.
So
that's
we
right.
wrote
February 24th.
with my lipstick because we didn't think about it till last minute. We wrote "Happy Birthday, Emily," and I'm like, when they snap your picture or whatever, when you get up there, hold that. She's at home, and maybe Mom and Poppy will show it to her. Yeah. And sure enough, we've got that picture.
We have that picture. In awards presented earlier tonight. I'm holding a "Happy Birthday, Emily."
Wow.
So it's just moment after moment of standing on the stage. The first time I was invited to be a part of a Billy Graham crusade. I'm standing there like, how in the world did this happen? I grew up watching Billy Graham, and my grandmother was so excited and just couldn't believe that I was going to be on a Billy Graham crusade. And
asked if you were going to get your hair cut.
Oh yeah, I had the mullet still. And she was like, her biggest concern was, now you're going to get your hair cut for that, right? Because that's Billy Graham.
And he didn't.
I didn't, and I've lived, to regret ever since, because that picture shows up all the
everywhere.
Time. But so it really has been, and that honestly is that's the great challenge for us. It is for me, but I think for both of us, and we talk about it a lot, and I pray about it a lot. is to stay in that place because it's just human nature, that then once those things happen and you have those amazing opportunities, and then, some time goes by and then you start to kind of go, well, now what? Or they didn't mention me in the Grammys this year or last year or the last 5 year, and to stay in a place of, it's not, I don't know, for a while it was like, well, I don't want to rest on any laurels. You don't go back and, remember the good old days when, we won Grammy Awards or whatever, but just to stay in a place of gratitude and just really being, amazed at the opportunities that God has given us, and not let that comparison and all that stuff that robs us of so much joy. The enemy, loves nothing more than just to be like, well, yeah, that was that, but that doesn't mean anything because it isn't still happening right now at the level that it was there or whatever. So you got to have all of that stuff to kind of, for me and for us to just keep going back to, what an amazing, blessing and privilege it is that God's allowed us to, have the platform that
it's been really
we've had.
Sweet watching. This year was the year that he was inducted into the Opry. It was just a few months ago. And when they say it's a surprise, the actual induction isn't. They let you plan a big party and everybody gets to be there. But when they invite you to be part of the Opry, that is a total surprise. I
you don't know what
didn't go. Looking back, hindsight, all the people were trying to get me to go, but it was the Olympics, and I was like all into like watching all the things and all things. I'm like, I don't know if I'm coming. I kind of have a headache, and and I think somebody said something about we may have a Show Hope donor that wants to visit backstage with Stephen. Somehow they got me there, and it total surprise. And just to watch him and then just to have that full circle moment where that was his dad's dream and he laid it down in order to raise these boys, and then to just watch that unfold. So grateful. Just watching you just be so loved by that community, and just anyways, it's just always a attitude of gratitude, and just we just cannot believe the opportunities that have been in front of him. I'm grateful. Have been able to watch it all.
Well, let's also talk about the incredible talent sitting beside you. Also,
Amen to that.
Yes.
You are a New York Times bestselling author.
Preach.
You've written a book we love called
thank
Choosing
you.
to See.
Yeah, it is a great book.
And will you just talk for a minute about what you would say you have learned through loss and what you hope folks would take away from that book?
Sure. Well, that's the book that you wish you'd never had to write. We lost our youngest daughter, Maria, in 2008. It's been almost 17 years ago when I met you,
Yes.
Dave.
Gosh.
So I think, to sum it up, what I learned is God is good. I don't say that lightly, and I don't say that for people who are listening, who are walking through hard. The other thing we quickly learned is we don't hold the corner on hard, right? So many people are in their own hard, dark place. And as I began to journal and kind of blog and write in those dark days and in those first hours and weeks after losing our daughter, it became really apparent really quick that it was going to be a long life and that everything shifted. There was a new normal. There was this triage that was happening, where we are trying to help our most wounded children and trying to make peace with saying goodbye to one of them, and then, helping our children get the care that they needed as quickly as they could. Anger at God, mad, really mad. And I talked to a friend the other day, and I'm like, I know that I know that I know now that I've been through this. I've tasted the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living in a way that I never would have. Having lost Maria, that doesn't mean that I'm happy or glad that he brought me through this, because I would so go back 17 years and do it differently.
Yeah.
But there is beauty from ashes always. I used to say I had a free fall of faith during that time, but I face planted on a solid foundation. He was there all along. I had to kind of find my way to that. I told a friend the other day, it's like, I don't want any more ashes. I'd like the beauty part of this, story to keep kind of coming. But if and when inevitably more ashes come, I know God is good and He's beautiful. And I don't say that lightly for, again, people who are in the place where they're not able to say that in their particular part of their journey. We had a wrestling match, God and I, with that book. And there was a lazy boy recliner that has my body imprint. I spent a lot of hours. I promised Shoei, she's like, Mama, you can't ever do that again. I'm like, okay, I won't ever do that. I had a beautiful writer that worked with me, Ellen Vaughn. And it was really a thing I needed to go through and share my story. And it also helped me deal with some of my past, because I didn't feel like I could just pick up where this terrible thing happened, but, maybe offer a glimpse into kind of walking forward into that and then out. And so thank you for the kind words, but it was hard, but I wanted to be truthful.
Yeah. And you were.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, just to invite us in to that loss with such honesty and to be able to be in both places of the honesty and the grief and the hope. I mean, y'all just, beautiful's not even a way to say it.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's just so intermixed with the hard and the sad and, the prayers for our children, our son in particular, and, watching that journey unfold and honestly coming to terms with the fact that God is who He says He is, and He is going to care well for His children and for us. It's hard to say that on any given day. And it's not like we get to a place and then from now on I can say that every day. 2 weeks from now, I might go, hey, what I said, I don't mean it.
Yeah, right.
I'm feeling it in I take it back. I'm feeling it in a different way. And but that, I've always kind of described our journey. It's kind of like the waves, sometimes it's a tsunami. And sometimes the waves aren't so bad. Sometimes it's high tide, low tide. It just depends. And so that has created a lot of work for a big family.
Yeah.
but I wouldn't trade it. And we all live here in town mostly. And so, yeah.
That's what I was going to ask. Knowing a lot of families who've been impacted by loss, the hope that they know, the depth that they carry is just profound.
Yes.
And so how do y'all feel like it has changed your family?
Well, completely.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think when something catastrophic happens like that, you obviously walk forward with a limp and a piece of, it's an amputation, right? A piece of you's missing.
Yeah.
I also think that it makes you immediately, I think in the early days, it makes you immediately stronger. But, one of our favorite people and pastors on the planet, Scotty Smith, who is such a dear soul in our life. I mean, he's been a truth teller and a lover of the Chapmans our entire married life. And, pretty much out of the gate said, so, hey, a lot of families who lose a child, it doesn't end well. They divorce. And I'm like, that is not good news. I mean, because, Steve and I think we've probably built wings onto counselors. if you're the sound of my voice and you're a counselor, you probably counsel us.
Probably know the Chapmans.
So with that, declaration that he gave us, it was like, okay, this is going to be.
Yeah.
And so it was hard and it was dark and it was ugly and then it would get better. And then, all of the things. But I think the way it's changed our family is we don't take anything for granted. And we work really, really hard at we exhaust ourselves trying to really be aware when the enemy can start doing the little screw tape letters whispering because he didn't win, right? He came calling and tried to devour us. I think he came swinging pretty big.
Yeah.
And so I think he stays pretty ticked at the Chapmans that we're trying to just battle back and push back the darkness. And we haven't done it perfectly. We have had some gnarly days and some gnarly, sleepless nights and family meetings and how can we, help, but really out of a heart of, we want to steward well the story, and we want to show people who are having a similar crisis of faith with whatever their heart is that your family's worth fighting for, and and the enemy does not like the family. Does not. You guys see that.
You guys know.
Yes.
You know it better than anybody. On the front lines of helping young people. And so we're very aware. And again, we don't do it perfectly, but we really fight for our people group.
Yeah.
So to speak. Yeah.
I think we say this a lot because Caleb said it in an interview that he did, and he was asked
he'll
about.
say it with you all.
He probably will. He's asked
him
about his family, and he said,
Mom and Dad.
He said, I think we hobble well. He said, that's what I, would say about we hobble, and we're from the wrestling with God and the grief and the, it's a hobble, but he's like, I think there's something to be said for, hobbling well. I thought that's a pretty great way to say it. I think for our family and to, the ways it has certainly changed us is we definitely live with so much more of an anticipation, longing for home, and this is not our home, and we're just more, painfully aware of it, but it's a really beautiful thing at the same time to be that aware of it, because otherwise you can get really, disoriented, thinking this is it, this is as good as it gets. Does it just keep, stocking it away, or keep, getting it? Or if things aren't going well and this marriage ain't feeling very good right now or whatever, then this is it. I saw, man, I gotta, I gotta seize the day, the moment, because this is all I got. And, I think for us, really knowing that, and having such a clear, the veil pulled back, especially for those moments, and watching God provide in those moments too, in ways that, we're sitting with one of God's greatest gifts to our family, through the way you, Dave, loved on Will Franklin especially, and Caleb. Truly, we have said it to you and to so many others that, one of the reasons Will is still with us is the way God worked through Dave Thomas, and we're so grateful for you, brother, and will forever be. And you watch God provide even in those times, and you've got this sort of, inner battle of wanting to say, God, this is so amazing. And yet, what would have been more amazing?
Yes.
What would have been so great if this would have never happened, in the first place, because all it would have taken. And then you start,
going there,
playing God and trying to be God and trying to tell God what, how it should have been. And that is that hobbling. That's living in the in between, and the, what we see and what we don't yet know. And so we, by faith, know that we we'll taste and see.
It's the here and not
And-
yet. It's
yeah.
that tension.
Yes.
And with our family, it's just making a conscious decision to continue to choose each other
Mhm.
and just be there
Yeah.
for each other, show up for each other.
Yeah. For sure.
What a beautiful way to say that, you all. And that I don't know a family who has stewarded that in the way you have. I don't. And I love that your son could reflect those things back to you in that way. I love that.
Thank you.
And as we think on your family, we do not want to miss a chance to talk about Show Hope, an organization we love, respect, admire, support, all the things.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
will you talk about how that came to be? Will you talk a little bit about the work you do? And then we are going to insist that you brag on, we're going to require you to talk about the families who've been helped. Will you?
Yes.
wow.
And
Yeah.
how folks can find you.
Yes.
The work you're doing there.
Well, you can find us by going to showhope.org. It's simple as that, showhope.org. We started Show Hope. It's 22 years old. And it really goes back to 1997. Emily and I took a trip with Compassion International to Haiti, of all things. And that trip radically changed both of us. But I would say in particular, that little 11-year-old stinker came home and she was on a mission. It had so impacted her heart.
Wow.
Began, again, Scotty Smith, talking to Scotty Smith, going, I think we have room at our table and my mom and dad should adopt and blah, blah, blah. And we said, that's a really good idea for you someday when you have your family and all the things.
We will totally support
We will totally support that.
as grandparents.
And yet we did begin to pray about it. We told her we would, and so we did. And not enough hours in the day to tell you of all the God things that began to play out. And it was literally like walking up to an electronic door, and every step we took, we didn't have to open the door. The door just went.
Wow.
And so we told the kids, if doors continue to open, we're just going to keep stepping through. We made a promise to her that we would at least research. Me in particularly had to be the one that really had to pray. I think this one over here was secretly already kind of praying that this might be a really good idea for our family. And anyways, in 2000, that wound us up in the hallway of a hotel in China with our first adoption of Shohana Hope Chapman, who you guys know, and she's 25 years old now. But I'm going to tell you, when they handed me that child, it was all about adoption, but it was all about my adoption. And it was about the first time I've been a Christian since I was 5 years old. I asked Jesus into my heart, but I don't think I really understood it until they handed me that little bundle of mismatched clothes and wrapped in this little blanket, and the swirl of stuff going on, like, the voice in my head, clearly the Holy Spirit going, do you understand? This is it. This is, in an instant, she's 50 minutes later, we had scrubbed her, put her little Gap pajamas on, and we're eating French fries in the restaurant. and then there were 4, and we had the kids with us, and I'm looking at this little bundle going, this is it. I would have died at that moment for her. And so that really began this, that was in 2000. We came home and said, if there are Christian families who are longing to step into this journey, we just need to help them. So that's where Show Hope started. It really it began this journey of, let's help Christian families. It's to care for orphans by engaging the church, reducing barriers to adoption. And so that's where it started. Today, 22 years later, we've helped a little over 9,300 families with an adoption aid grant. I think if I have my numbers here, but I think that's like $45 million in adoption aid grant. Wow. And we hope to help 100 families. So we were just like, we're just going to tell our story. And again, with what you all know, that adoption trauma is real, attachment is real, all the things are real. And we, in our journey of wanting to go deep with families, we started our pre and post adoption work because we woke up one day and went, we're really encouraging this church to step up and adopt. and we're going, hope that goes well.
Yeah.
And they need tools. And if we can help countries help children become healthier before they're adopted, if we can help on the backside when parents are calling us in crisis, going, what do? We want to love our child well. God didn't promise if you stepped into it that it would go well. He just wants you to be obedient, right? And so trying to help families walk in eyes wide open, and then obviously offer the help that these little people come with their invisible suitcases, of trauma and need, as we have our own too, right? And so these, everyone coming together as a family. So that's our pre and post adoption. I think we've been able to, I know you guys are familiar with TBRI, Trust-Based Relational Intervention.
Yes.
I think we've scholarshiped 2,500 counselors to go to that training.
2 of whom are on our staff and have made such a difference over the years.
Incredible.
Yes.
It is not any way, I repeat, any way that Stephen and I thought about parenting when we parented Emily and Caleb and Will. And, it's a paradigm shift. It's so important. And then we have our Hope for the Journey resources, which is a conference that really during COVID, we shifted to online. And now we've put it online as a resource to just want to help kind of families and caregivers and church Sunday school teachers, and we've worked with governments and social workers and judges and anybody that will listen to try to help people that are touching and caring well for children who have adoption and trauma in their life. So we get the privilege of getting to do that. We've started medical care grants. So many children who are adopted, their medical care falls outside the bounds of traditional insurance, and so we're able to help. Some of the medical care is mental health grants, so we're able to help people get the care they need from trusted therapists. We're really trying to help connect people with trusted therapists that'll help. Did I forget? Oh, and it all started with a pesky 11-year-old named Emily. So we always keep a sliver of the Show Hope work for student initiatives. And we have what's called right now, that looks like what's called the Pause campaign, where we get church groups or colleges or Bible studies, any kind of group setting that'll do this Bible study. It kind of removes you from your social media for about a week in order to kind of really see what Jesus is saying about caring well for children in need and orphans. So we just look kind of back behind us and go, we didn't see that coming, right? Just kind of taking steps of faith to go, okay, Mary Beth has a big mouth. A lot of people say that. And then Stephen has a platform. So what would it look like to be able to help as many people as we can? And so we got, for about 10 years, got to do this really unique work in China, caring well for some really special people over there at a place called Maria's Big House of Hope, which is still there. We're just not able to work there currently. But maybe someday, you never know. And so, yeah, we get to do a lot of really cool things for the least of the least. So thanks for asking and letting me brag a little. I will say grateful. The staff is incredible. We have an incredible executive director, and the team there is just so driven by the gospel, and it so reflects the Father's heart, right? It's easy work to do because of that. It can be really hard, but easy because it is about the least of the least.
Yeah.
So,
yes.
Yeah.
Well, and it's always so important, I feel like, for me to give honor where honor is due. I mean, we came home from our journey in China that first time, and I saw something, a fire burning in my wife's eyes that I had, never seen before. And when she walked through the orphanage and saw all the little beds full of little ones in Shoei's orphanage, kind of looking at us like,
why not me?
Can you take me too?
Can you take me too?
And then, we pulled the scope out from that and said, these children, these represent children all over the world. And we kind of had gotten a crash course on all that from all the research that Emily wanted us to do about, international adoption. And her mother did it, and read the books. And, but it just, to watch that passion and to see how God has really used my bride. I know that so often because, my music, and I'm the guy on the album cover or whatever, but we really believe in so many, sometimes we say, it may be that when this is all said and done, the Lord says, that whole platform music and all that was cool, and, the main reason was because, I wanted to give you guys the platform with the church and with, to be able to, to see this thing happen and, for Mary Beth's heart for that and the way she has led and championed and fiercely, championed that. I'm just very, very grateful and proud of her and thankful for her because she is really the one that has just carried that, and it's come at a price and it's been a heavy, weight and even, even our journey with Maria and all of those, the greatest joy in our life and understanding of the grace of God. It's also been, what we potentially could have avoided, the greatest heartbreak that we didn't know, we would even, if we'd survive it, all came by way of this journey of adoption. So it's all of that. It's the beauty and the brokenness and the heart and the all anchored in the hope that God is doing something and telling a story and is redeeming all of these things, and that none of this is wasted. None of this is going to ultimately be, not one tear will be wasted in this journey, in this life, and that He's, as only He could, really, truly working all of these things together for our good and for His glory. That's just an amazing reality that we have to keep holding on to and remembering.
And now a quick break to hear from one of our incredible sponsors who make the podcast available. Connie was teasing me yesterday.
About what?
Well, when we were growing up in the 70s, a lot of women hosted Tupperware parties at their house, and they were on a campaign to stock your cabinets with Tupperware. Connie believes I'm on a campaign to stock everyone's cabinets with Our Place cookware because I'm such a fan. I talk about it with everyone who comes to our house.
I think I do too. It's so easy to do because mine is always sitting out. It's like a conversation piece.
We overhauled our kitchen with the Our Place 4-piece cookware set. It's the multifunctional, high-performance, space-saving pots and pans. Buying the 4-piece cookware set saves you $150.
Plus, they all match in Our Place's famous colors.
I have it in sage green, and we leave it out all the time as well.
A study by the Ecology Center in California found that 80% of nonstick pans contain Teflon, PFAS, which can be released into your food, home, and body. Also, a brand new study published in the Science of the Total Environment found that a single scratch on a nonstick coated pan can release approximately 9,100 plastic particles.
Our Place's products are trusted by Michelin star chefs and have over 80,000 5-star reviews.
And we have the Wonder Oven at the lake, which we love. It's a revolutionary air fryer and toaster oven that sold out 8 times, made from stainless steel and glass, offering an eco-friendly, high-performance cooking experience.
Stop cooking with toxic cookware and upgrade to Our Place today. Visit FromOurPlace.com/RBG and use code RBG for 10% off site-wide.
With a 100-day risk-free trial, free shipping and returns, you can experience this game-changing cookware with zero risk.
We both got a video recently of our cute little friend Lucy basically doing a commercial for the world about Hiya vitamins.
She is adorable and she loves those things.
Little Lucy knows that typical children's vitamins are basically candy in disguise, filled with 2 teaspoons of sugar, unhealthy chemicals, and other gummy additives growing kids should never eat.
Hiya fills in the most common gaps in modern children's diets to provide the full body nourishment our kids need with the yummy taste they love.
Formulated with the help of pediatricians and nutritional experts, Hiya is pressed with a blend of 12 organic fruits and veggies, then supercharged with 15 essential vitamins and minerals, including vitamin D, B12, C, zinc, folate, and many others to help support immune system, energy, brain function, mood, concentration, teeth, bones, and more.
And don't forget, they send a cool bottle with the first order and fun stickers to decorate. My nephews love theirs.
And are you tired of battling with your kids to eat their greens? Hiya now has Kids Daily Greens Plus Superfoods, a chocolate-flavored greens powder designed specifically for kids, packed with 55-plus whole food ingredients to support brain power, development, and digestion. Just scoop, shake, and sip with milk or any non-dairy beverage for a delicious and nutritious boost your kids will actually enjoy.
We've worked out a special deal with Hiya for their best-selling children's vitamin. Receive 50% off your first order. To claim this deal, you must go to hiyahealth.com HIYA-HEALTH.com/RBG. This deal is not available on their regular website.
Go to HIYA-HEALTH.com/RBG and get your kids the full body nourishment they need to grow into healthy adults. And now back to the show.
Well, y'all have raised some amazing human beings, and you
Yes.
now have how many grandchildren that you're helping with?
We have seven.
Seven.
So
Crazy.
thinking back all that time, is there any parenting advice that someone said to you or you discovered along the way that has been particularly helpful, memorable?
I know what you're going to say because we say it all the time. And I don't even know what book it was in, but early on, and maybe it was in a book. Maybe we went to one. We also used to go to all these marriage conferences because we needed so much help. And then we'd sit there and realize, and then
an hour, and
then we'd go to a movie. And we'd go to a movie because it's like, I'm like, you're like the girl, and I'm like the guy, and we're the 80% that doesn't
they're gonna
work
say
on
now
it.
the guy is gonna just say, "Give me the facts, just give me the facts," and the woman's gonna go, "How do you feel? Tell me how you feel." And I'm over here like, we're going.
He's over there going,
We don't belong here. This is not for us. We're so screwed up already. It's like, well, we
wait,
blew that.
Are you the golden retriever or the
yeah, I
otter?
know.
We've been to all of them.
I'm a
We have been to all of them.
I'm a mutant.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But-
And don't even ask him about Enneagram because people ask him all the time, what's your Enneagram? He goes, I go to 11.
I go to 11. I go to 11.
He does. But I digress. We heard or read, but it's the rules without relationship lead to rebellion. And I know that sounds kind of trite and simple, but we had Emily first. And we actually even bought the book, The Strong-Willed Child, because we thought she was strong-willed. Oh, we had no idea. I'm like, why did we buy?
Right.
Then we had,
She was about the most compliant child. But she was our first. That's all we knew.
We had no idea what we were doing. And we were young, too.
Yeah.
That's the other
Oh,
thing.
boy.
And then Caleb and Will Franklin came along really close. They're like 15 months apart. And when I found out Will was on the way, I just begged God for a boy because I thought, man, I can just put him in school, send them right together. I had this really deep sense that they were going to be in music. So growing up and when they were in school at Christ Presbyterian Academy, shout out, love them. Sweet Ann Purdy, the principal of the elementary school at the time. Will Franklin was a young for his grade, and she every year we'd go to the meeting,
Parent,
and she
teacher,
would just not beg us, but encourage us strongly to keep Will Franklin in kindergarten. I think he could use kindergarten another year, and I'm like, I can't. And at the time, adoption wasn't on the table. We hadn't even thought about it, and it was like, nope, Dad's gone. I think they're going to do music. So the closer I can keep Will to Caleb, that would be better. And I kind of held my ground on it, which Will could have used another year. He totally should have had another year. But those boys, I had no idea raising boys. Mm-hmm. They're different and in a good way, but just really intentionally when they were little, just trying not to be surprised at all the knuckleheaded things that are going to happen and the things we're still finding out about. So when you talk to them, you can find out all the things we're still
take good notes and send them.
Take good notes.
Send them secretly to us because we're still finding out
how not to be surprised, how to be in relationship, how to be for them. I used to tell the boys all the time, look, if you tell me, Mom, this is if CPA calls me and you're in trouble, if you tell me this is what happened, this is the truth, and I have to go to bat for you, I will go to bat for you. Tell me the truth. Yeah. And then if there's consequences because it's not quite how it came down, then we will in relationship, we will, figure out the
I think that
am I allowed to tell a story? I wonder if Will Franklin would. I should tell him about the Spanish exam.
Which one you were telling me? Oh gosh. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Should I tell the story?
Oh, please.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This is a great one.
Oh yeah.
So Will Franklin, our prayer for Will Franklin and Caleb, to be fair, but Will Franklin for all of them was that their sins would be shouted from the mountaintop so that we could parent them. So that we, instead of finding out 15 years later that there was this, whatever. And so sweet Will Franklin, it didn't matter what he tried to pull. The Lord would just, it'd be like, hey, It will, and
Shouted
we
from the rooftops.
shout it from the mountaintop, just crazy stuff. Well, was he a sophomore or a junior? Yeah, Caleb wasn't graduated yet. I think he's a sophomore. They were in Spanish 1 together. So Caleb waited and took it, and he and Will were in the same Spanish 1 class. And a bunch of his basketball buddies were in there. And so it was time for the final exam. And the way Caleb tells it, they're walking into the final exam. Will's like, "Hey, bub, you got me?" And Caleb's like, "Nope, don't got you." And went and sat. He's like, "You don't sit. Caddy, nope, I don't got you." And
That's so good.
And so the exam happened, and about 2 weeks later, we get a phone call. "Hey, come to school. We'd like to talk to you about Will Franklin's Spanish exam."
What did he do now?
I'm like, "Well, here we go."
Boy.
And so we go in and sit down. And I believe the Spanish teacher at the time was Miss Molitores, who everybody had a crush on. I don't. You might be. Yeah, you weren't there. Miss Molitores, a young, just pretty Spanish teacher. Anyways, she's meeting with us, and she says, "Well, we have an interesting situation here." And we're like, "Uh-oh, what happened?" And she said, "Well, this is the Spanish 1 regular exam. Honors didn't, fit. It wasn't a fit for Will Franklin. In a regular class." And she said, "However, we inadvertently gave," and Abrow was the guy's nickname, Andy Brower. "We inadvertently gave Andy Brower a Spanish honors test, which he actually did quite well on. But what's interesting is Will Franklin's answers on the regular test is exactly the answers from Abrow's paper, who inadvertently got the honors exam." And so Steve and I look at each other and go, "Well, we busted. We've prayed that Will Franklin's sins would be shouted from the mountaintop. So what do we need to do here?" So,
And that
so Will Franklin spent the summer.
Only God could cook that one up.
Yeah, and listen,
get away with
there's none finer than Will Franklin. He is a fine young man, but they have to kind of go, do their thing. And he was just like, "Ooh." I'm like, "Buddy, not only are you going to summer school this summer, you're paying for it." Because it was like at the time, it was like $850. So I think he had some lawn care he was taking care of that summer to pay for his.
Man.
I mean, we have story after story of those boys. But yeah, just being really intentional and in relationship with them. And
I think too, I always think about this, and we've said this before as well, but they saw us mess it up so many times. I mean, we have been and still are on any given day a mess. And I think one of the things we were really just by God's grace, I don't know if there's anything we read or whatever, but just were convicted that whenever they did see us and hear us be very honest about the fact that, look, we're figuring this out with you guys. We do not have it all figured out. We're kind of clueless a lot of the time, And so but we trust, number one, that God is going to give us wisdom. We're going to ask you to trust us. We're going to do it wrong. We're going to blow it. We've blown it. You've seen us blow it. We tried to model repentance with each other, even when we didn't always feel it. Many times sent them down to go,
the repair.
"I'm sorry."
They saw plenty of rupture, right?
Yeah, the rupture and the
that
rapture and the repair. And so, but I think there was something in that, I feel like even now that we have the relationship with them that was being developed in that, kind of in that soil of just honesty and a real, like, guys, we need Jesus because we believe him to be the wonderful counselor, the only one who can ultimately give us the wisdom that we don't have. You're going to have to trust us, and we're going to make mistakes, and we're even going to, repent to you when we feel like, well, yeah, I overdid that or underdid that or whatever, and then with each other. And I think that has really, in their lives, to see that, that honesty in our relationship with them has also been an important part of what has helped them.
Your legacy. I mean,
No.
I'm thinking as you're talking about the remarkable kids you've raised, and I'm thinking as you all were telling the stories of Show Hope, I was thinking, I hope there's not a week that goes by that one or both of you is not in some space where some parent walks up to you and says, like, this person is here in our family because of your obedience and your faithfulness to steward this pain and this calling in the ways you all have done it. And I just hope that continues into heaven. You just get to keep meeting over and over and over. And we just are beyond honored that you would come and sit with us and share this wisdom and goodness and just the joy of knowing the two of you. We cannot thank you enough.
Thank you.
And to every person listening, you are right now going to download everything Stephen has ever written. And you are going to jump on the Show Hope website and you'll thank us later.
Yes. Buy Mary Beth a book.
And volunteer and you're going to buy Mary Beth
Absolutely.
all the things.
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
we're so grateful, you two. Thanks for coming to be with us.
Thank you. Thank you for what you've meant to our family, Dave and Sissy. The work you guys do here is so incredible.
I mean, just to our,
so
all
grateful.
Of our kiddos and through the years, it's really a remarkable. I mean, you guys are woven into our story as part of it is that village that it takes of, how God brings people together to do it. And we need that community. And you guys have been that amazingly for us personally and for so many people. So we're so honored to get to be with you and thank you for what you're doing. Continue to.
Thank y'all. David, what a team we have that we get to call friends who help make this podcast possible. Chris Starrett, our engineer.
Our management team at KCH.
And we are thrilled to be a part of the That Sounds Fun network.
Our music was created by the insanely talented Dave Haywood of Lady A.
And if this podcast felt helpful to you, please consider subscribing, liking, sharing, all the things.
We are grateful for you and cheering you on always.